Welcome, race fans, to race number 4 of this Elite League Racing Network iRacing IndyCar live this afternoon from beautiful Lexington, Ohio for the Apex Motorsports podcast Indy 200. I am Derik Vance, and joining me this evening in the broadcast booth is Peter Short, and as always, Carlos Acosta is here as well. Peter, first and foremost, this is the 4th race of this 2024 season. Already, we've had 3 different races, 3 different winners, I do believe. But I know you've been following this closely as well. What are some of your thoughts going into this afternoon's race here at Lexington, Ohio, at the Mid-Ohio Sports Park?
Well, yeah, there's been 3 great races so far this season, and this is the second time on a road course this season here at Mid-Ohio. This is a great racetrack, going to put on a great show here tonight, but what a great field. There's so many good things happening right now in the Elite Racing League, and with this racetrack here tonight, there are a few passing spots, but that's just going to make it a lot more fun for us to watch. There's going to be a lot of close action here, like we have seen all season long. Here tonight, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I am as well. As you see, we have about 10 and a half minutes of qualifying, and right now Chad Frankenfield is sitting on the pole, but that could change at any time. We will run 80 laps tonight. Like I said, we are at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in beautiful Lexington, Ohio. That is approximately, for people that are geographically challenged like myself, that is approximately halfway between God's City, that's Columbus, Ohio, and Cleveland. We are at a 2.258 mile, 13-turn natural terrain road course that, as Peter just mentioned, offers a little bit of everything from elevation change to high-speed corners, flowing corners, tight corners, and a narrow 40-foot racing ribbon, and a challenge entry into pit lane. Peter, I know you've had some experience behind the wheel in these Indy cars. I don't know if you've raced here at Mid-Ohio or not, but if you have, you want to give our viewers and listeners this evening a little bit of a preview of what these drivers are going to expect here in this 80-lap extravaganza.
Yeah, well, this racetrack with these Indy cars, like I mentioned, there aren't a lot of passing zones, but after the long straight, there's a right-hander called China Beach. China Beach is a corner that you really can make a move at. You're going to want to use your push to pass down that long straightaway when you have it. And of course, if you're in front of someone, you're going to be watching your mirror, watching for a car behind you when they do use that push to pass, because that is a prime passing opportunity. You see right here, we're on board with one of these drivers right now going up through the S's. You're not going to have a lot of passing opportunity, as it is the 15 here, Frankenfield, coming to the start-finish line. We're right on board with him. This first corner, very tricky. You can kind of get as close as you can to that curb. If you hit that curb, it can send you right around. Now going off into turn number 2 here. This is the keyhole, another pretty good passing opportunity, but it's going to be very important that you get a drive out of this corner, get the power down, because this is the long straight that I was talking about. You can really use your push to pass, as Frankenfield's going to pull over here, but use that long straightaway to your benefit and try and make that move down into turn number 3, the China Beach corner. But I'm sure we'll see some drivers off in the beach here today. Hopefully you don't have any pail and bucket out in that beach, but we definitely see some drivers go off there. It happens every time here at this track.
I know, Peter, we were just two race Thursdays ago. We were at Road America up in the great state of Wisconsin, the Cheesehead State, and it was Adriano Pinero who dominated from start to finish at that road course there at Road America, and it would not surprise me, because we don't see him on track quite yet, but it would not surprise me, Peter, to see Adriano Pinero do the exact same thing. It seems like to me that he has these road courses down to a science.
Yeah, Pinero was also fast in the practice session a little while ago, was up on the podium in that session. So we're expecting some good things out of him. Of course, had a good race going last week until a late race mishap. But has interesting fact, coming into tonight, Pinero has started on the front row in every race so far this season. So expecting a hot lap when Pinero finally does make it out there onto the racetrack, but you're starting to see the track starting to get a little bit busier out there. It's going to be difficult for these drivers to find a little bit of free space to get their hot lap in. As you see, 16 drivers have so far taken time.
Hey guys,
just about 6.5 minutes left here in practice.
Yeah, quick reminder that qualifying is separated into two groups. This is Carlos, by the way, the producer. Group 1, which consists of everybody 16th and back on points. And then Group 2, at 7:53 p.m., which is actually now, everybody in Group 2 has been released. That consists of everybody in the top 15 in points. That's Jason Brophy, Ethan Stanley, Tyler Fody, Craig Forsyth, Nicholas Sudik, Adriano Pinero, Hunter Smith, Jared Brexing, Victor Del Porto, Nick DeGroot, Presley Sora, Ryan Schold, Butch Davis, Tony Shohan, and Mark Murphy. So that's why you weren't seeing Adriano Pinero out on track until right now. So second group is now on track. They'll have the field all to themselves for these last 5.5 minutes.
You know, that's probably my mistake. I have to get better. I know IndyCar is just right around the corner. There is as they're about to kick their season off. Two different groups. I completely slipped my mind. But Carlos talked about points there, is how they're qualifying, how the two groups are done. I know we were having a little bit of technical difficulty getting the points image up on screen, but I know Peter, you want to run down the points as they sit here going into race number 4.
Yeah, Jason Brophy is our points leader entering into tonight, 24 points ahead of Ethan Stanley, who had the pole on the previous road course at Road America. Tyler Fody coming into tonight, third place in points. Craig Forsyth is 38 markers behind Brophy in fourth, and Nicholas Sudik in fifth. He's just 1 point behind Forsyth, so pretty close there from Ethan Stanley all the way back to Sudik. Adriano Pinero, winner from Road America, sits in sixth, tied on points with Hunter Smith. Jared Rexing in eighth, 49 points back. Victor Del Porto and Nick DeGroot rounding out our top 10, 53 and 57 points behind Jason Brophy. So it's pretty tight from about second all the way back into 10th. We could see a lot of change up, of course, still early in the season. You can see the points right there on your screen. So a lot could change here tonight on the road course. And I like to say Mid-Ohio says it's a sports car course, but tonight we got the Indy cars out there on this racetrack, and definitely looking forward to a show. As you can see up at the top of the board, the number 91 machine of Ethan Stanley, our pole award winner back at Road America, is top of the charts once again.
Now, you talked about Jason Brophy being the points leader and the rookie leading the points so far after 3 races. I know obviously going into this, his mindset, he obviously wants to win this race. As we see a new pole sitter, Tyler Fody is sitting atop the qualifying tree there with just a little less than 3 minutes left. But what, as a driver, Peter, what do you think Brophy's mindset is going into this? Obviously, we're 3 races into the season. Points leaders, we see Adriano Pinero taking the track, and he's already P2 with just a little less than 3 minutes left to go. What a surprise, right? But what's Brophy's mindset here, leading the points, coming into a road course? Obviously, like I said, I know he wants to win. You want to win every race, but what do you think's his mindset here?
Well, whenever you come to a road course, at least in my mind, I have a slightly different mindset when you come to these types of tracks. At least when I come to it, it's race the track. Race your own race. Of course you want to be fast. Of course you want to go out there. You want to win. You want to think about points. That's what you want to do, but you have to take a step back. You have to race the racetrack. You have to be smart. At the end of the day, you have to finish the race. And when it comes to a racetrack, you have to be mentally on it. Corner after corner, you have to be watching your braking point. You have to be watching your turn-in point. You have to be watching your apex. All those types of things, lap after lap. You have to be on the money lap after lap. And that's what we've seen out of him so far this year, whether it's a road course or an oval. But especially when you come to a track like this, where it is very technical, it is very tricky, he's going to come into this race thinking, hey, I'm going to race a track, be respectful of the track, come out of it, still be fast, and hopefully still leave this race with the points lead. He's 6th on the board right now.
Yeah, he absolutely is. We see the board there on the left-hand side. We got about a minute and 20 left in qualifying. Tyler Fode currently sits P1. And then who we talked about, the race favorite, Adriano Pinero, currently P2. Ethan Stanley, Butch Davis, Chad Frankenfield round out your top 5. And then Jason Brophy, Simpson, Smith, Jared Rexing, and Nicholas Sudik round out your top 10 with just 55 seconds left to go. We're about to get this thing kick-started here into the Apex Motorsports podcast to Indy 200. Peter, I know we talked off air about the favorite, and it's got to be Adriano Pinero just based on his last performance on a road course. We all across the board this evening, myself, Peter, and Carlos, that our race pick for this evening is going to be Adriano Pinero. Is there someone else that you're keeping your eye on tonight?
Well, I've raced with Chad Frankenfield. I know he's a very, very fast driver, whether it's on an oval, in an Indy car, on a road course. Doesn't matter what he's driving. Chad Frankenfield is always one to keep an eye on. So I got my eye on him in that number 15, currently in 5th on the board. But like I said, it's a long race. Anything can happen as the qualifying timer runs to 0. How about that? Tyler Fode in that number 40 machine.
Yep, absolutely. Tyler Fode, congratulations to him. As you said, as he just put that number 40 entry in P1. So he's going to start on the pole, but he's going to have a mirror full as soon as this race kicks off of Adriano Pinero and multiple other cars. So Tyler's definitely going to have his hands full this evening. So we should be getting things kicked off here shortly. Peter, you want to run down all of the sponsors while we have a moment before we get this race underway that makes it possible for us to bring this iRacing here on the Elite Racing Network?
Yeah, it's really cool to be part of a league that has premier partners, series sponsors, and of course race sponsors all coming together to make this possible. Of course, Blue Egg Marketing is the premier partner here, one of the premier partners here in the league. Blue Egg, the marketing department for your small business. They're your marketing department, small business owners. Blue Egg is your biggest fan. Go check them out. Constraints catalyze creativity. Blue Egg will help your business punch above your weight class. And of course, Worldwide Technology Raceway out of Madison, Illinois. Really cool racetrack not far from the St. Louis Arch. Warriors for Peace. Got to give them a shout out. Make sure you check out warriors4peace.org. That's warriors4peace.org for more information sponsoring this IndyCar series. And of course, Into the Apex Motorsports podcast for sponsoring tonight's race. We'll talk a little bit more about them throughout the night and give them some more plugs. But really cool to have those partners on board this season here in this IndyCar League. But Derik, we got the starting lineup for the fans here tonight on the channel. Why don't you take it away with our pole sitter?
All right, absolutely. We have up on screen here positions 1 through 12. First pole sitter, Tyler Fode in the number 40 machine for Lake Norman Motorsports. Following right behind him, P2, the road course king himself, Adriano Pinero in the number 56 machine for BK Racing. In row 2, the number 91 machine belongs to Ethan Stanley, again, that teammate of Tyler Fode at that Lake Norman Motorsports Racing group. And then P4, Butch Davis in the number 43 entry for FBR Motorsports. In row 3, as you just mentioned, one of the favorites from you, and the number 15 machine, Chad Frankenfield in Little Eagle Racing. 6th position, number 22 entry for Nicholas Sudik, Team Watson Racing. Rolling off P7, points leader rookie in the number 88 private label Team Hype Machine, Jason Brophy. In 8th, number 10, Jared Rexing of Independent Racing, still waiting on somebody to pick up this great racer. Starting 9th in the number 54 machine for, again, Little Eagle Racing, Hunter Smith. And rounding out the top 10, number 42, Chad Simpson in the Satellite Racing entry. Number 11, or starting 11th rather, Victor Del Porta in the number 27 machine for Rapinto Pro Racing. And then 12th, Presley Sora in the number 19 machine for Presley Sora Racing. Peter, you want to take the next?
Yeah, Justin Vandermarel for Fueled Up Racing in the 13th position on the grid. Bradley Beeman, Mad Sim Racing driver there in 14th. Behind them, Craig Forsyth, 4D Raceware driver from 15th. Tyler Beeman in 16th, also for Mad Sim Racing. Nick DeGroot in 17th. Chad Simard, 18th. Jordan Owens, Mark Murphy on row number 10. Corey Johnson, Brian Edwards, row number 11. Alan Stover in 23rd. And then a little bit further back, Gavin Hibbs, Evander Jonesfield, Patrick Stein, Tony Schoen, Justin Fortner, Mark Rebellious, Eric Troiano, Michael Hossack, Zachary Wright, Bill Colley, and Brandon Burns round out our field here tonight as they are about set to take the green flag.
Yes, they are. As Tyler Fody is going to be leading them to the green flag. We're going to have a double file start here. What you got, Carlos?
I apologize. I apologize for rushing you guys. I thought when Chad messaged me saying that they were starting the backstretch, that was because we're going to have a quick initial start of the race. But it looks like we are going to have a manual here restart. Or excuse me, manual start to the race. Everybody's still double filed up. So let's go back to not the points. Excuse me. Let's go back to the grid because we missed out on a driver or two. The grid doesn't want to work anymore. I do apologize. Oh, we're going.
And here
green
we
flag.
Go. And here we go. Green flag. Just like Peter said, the green flag is out. Tyler Fody is going to take them to the line. Double file behind Fody as we get through turn number 1. No issues. That's important. As we come into the next of multiple turns that you're going to see this evening here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Complex. Tyler Fody still out in the lead. Adriano Pinero, who ruled at Road America just a couple weeks ago, is second right in his tracks. As we are now single file from the double file start that we had. Peter, any first things here on lap number 1?
Yeah, there was a little bit of an issue towards the back of the pack with Alan Stover, but everyone's done a great job of keeping things nice and clean. We got one car there going off right there around the 6th position. That was pretty dangerous. We're going to bring up an instant replay here of what happened a little bit further back in the pack. I think this is Stover right here going off into China Beach.
Yeah, I know you talked about that. As you see that car get sideways, all the other cars kind of fan out to avoid hitting Stover there broadside, so he's able to get back on the track. No further incident. Lost a lot of track position, and that's important here, especially when it comes to road course racing. But back to the front, we see Tyler Fody as we are on lap 2 of 80. Adriano Pinero 2nd, Butch Davis 3rd, Chad Frankenfield 4th, and Nicholas Sudik round out the top 5.
Yeah, great start for Fody in that number 40, almost putting a second on Pinero. And it really is a great start. But look, the number 43 of Davis here, all over the back bumper of the Brazilian. I guess they don't really have bumpers, do they? But all over the rear spoiler of that number 56 in front of him. There you see. Yeah, it's not really a spoiler either.
The
it's
gearbox
on the back of these Indy cars. Yeah, wrong cars, I guess. I've been too used to broadcasting non-open wheel machines here on the channel over the years. But hey, right now there's some really good racing in the pack. But with number 43 at Butch Davis, this is what I was talking about, Derek, just a little while ago. This racetrack only has 1 or 2 good passing opportunities. Davis had one right there, wasn't able to do anything with it, was a little bit too far behind the number 56 in front of him. But now they go through the S's. You have to kind of tiptoe your way through there, really have to modulate the throttle. But you can really make up time on the car in front of you and try and set up a pass. A little bit further back, you see some great side-by-side racing. That's the number 16 there, Jonesfield, racing right there with the 17 of Johnson. They're side-by-side through the S's. That's not something you really want to do. You see them getting single file pretty quickly as a little bit of a wiggle out of the number 16 there.
You know, you talked about, Peter, that there's very few places on the track here where you can pass. So I think patience, as we have an instant replay coming up here. But speak about how Bill Colley here, as you see up on screen. Let's see what happens here as he drives it down into the corner. Got a little too loose. Back end kind of went out. Didn't cause any damage to any other entry. But Peter, you're talking about, like I said, there's very few places on this track that are a passing zone. So you got to be preaching patience. Talk about that a little bit as we see a car going off into the sand or a kitty litter, depending on how you look at it. But talk about how patient drivers have to be with so few passing lanes.
Well, for sure, patience is a thing, and we'll talk about patience in more ways than one. But you definitely, you really have the China Beach corner, turn number 3, turn number 4, depending on how you look at it. I think it's technically turn number 4 if you count the kink there on the backstretch. But you just have to set up the car in front of you. You have to set up a pass almost a half of a lap ahead here. You got to close them down and run in their tracks as much as you can. You see one of the good passing opportunities right here in the keyhole, turn number 2. And then out of the keyhole, right there, we just saw it, you get this long straightaway. You got to get the power down as quick as you can without spinning the rear tires, because right here, turn number 4, this is China Beach. This is a great passing opportunity. As you see the side-by-side action here, that's Hunter Smith, who is trying to get around Nicholas Sudik here as they now head into the S's, but there's just no passing opportunity here. Right here, you're going to follow the car. As I say that, the 54 has a peek to the inside of Sudik, and Sudik runs wide, going to pick up an opportunity. Going back to patience, sometimes the car in front of you makes a little bit of a mistake, and you can seize on that opportunity. But just with the way this racetrack is, you have to set up the car in front of you, whether that's a really good run out of turn number 2 or closing in on them, hounding them as close as you can through the S's and trying to force a mistake like that. Of course, the other bit of patience that I was going to talk about is push to pass. You don't want to run out of all your push to pass inside the opening 10 laps. I've done it myself, and it sets you up for 70 laps of heartache. But let me be honest there. So they do have push to pass, and they will use it throughout this race to their advantage. But you don't want to run out of it too soon. So you have to be patient with that button and be aggressive in the closing laps. And the only way to really be aggressive in the closing laps is if you have a lot of push to pass left. So we'll keep our eyes on that as we got Johnson back here having a little bit of a issue coming out of turn number 2, the keyhole, as he heads down the backstretch.
Yeah, I can't imagine how much that would put somebody behind the 8 ball if they use all of their push to pass in the opening stages of a road course race like this. But you talk about the push to pass mechanism that's on these cars. Let's not forget the podcast that I do called the Push to Pass podcast. Will be starting back up here shortly as the IndyCar season is about to get kick-started. No pun intended there in St. Petersburg in just a few weeks' time. We'll talk more about that as the race unfolds. As you see another car off the track getting back on the track. That's the Bill Colley machine, number 31 for OBDTR.com racing. So a lot of cars, Peter and Carlos, as we see Bill Colley having all sorts of issues. Again, trying to get back on the track, but we've seen probably a handful of cars so far in these opening 7 laps that are finding themselves off the track in one corner or the other.
Yeah, this is definitely a tricky course. It is fairly narrow. You think back to Road America 2 races ago. A much wider racetrack for a majority of the circuit. It's a little bit more forgiving. This racetrack, just with the flow that it has, it's fast. You got to carry your momentum through these corners, and when you got to carry your momentum through the corners, like you do here, it really pushes you to the edge. And so that's what we'll see a lot of these drivers making small mistakes here and there tonight. It's going to be important to keep, of course, all 4 tires on the road, but it's easier said than done as we're looking at this midfield battle. But up at the front of the field, Adriano Pinheiro has brought the lead down to under half a second. Fodi was up to almost a second in the opening lap. So things starting to accordion up at the front of the field as you're on board with the Brazilian here, clipping his apexes here through the S's. Doing a great job on hounding that number 40. Maybe can pressure him into a mistake like I was mentioning a little bit ago. But for right now, our front 3 looking good up at the front of the field.
Yes, they absolutely are, and it sounds like the dog in the background approves of the racing on the track as well. Like I said, we're on board here with the Adriano Pinheiro, and one thing I like to watch is the driver's hands. That tells me, how smooth the car is handling, in and out of these turns, and as you can see there, not a lot of wiggle as we go back on board of the number 3 machine of Butch Davis. We see the telestrator there circle with the red compound tires. I know this is a road course thing only, where the drivers have the option, and again, correct me if I'm wrong with this, but they can start out either on the softer red compound tires, or they can start with the harder black compound tires. I know we've talked about this before, but someone that has had race experience, we see this car here it's getting early service. But Peter, talk about the difference here between the softer red compounds that we have and the black, neutral compounds.
Yeah, well, the red tires, you'll see them here. Here's the number 43. Butch Davis is the first driver on the red compound, the softer compound, like you said there, Derik. They're going to be faster for a shorter period of time. They're going to start to wear a little bit sooner, so you're going to see more tire degradation, more time fall off as the run goes on, compared to the black wall tires that we see on our front 2 drivers, Tyler Fodi and Adriano Pinheiro, on those black wall tires. They will not be as fast in the short term, but they will last a little bit longer. They'll keep their pace up just a little bit better. Now, of course, in this league, you do have to run at least both sets of tires once for a single lap. That's a bare minimum. So we will, of course, see the number 43 of Davis on the black wall tires at some point here tonight, presumably after the first pit stop, but not necessarily the case. So that's just an extra element that you get here in the Elite Racing League in this IndyCar series that you might not see in, one of the NASCAR series out there. It's that extra element. I love that you get that extra bit of strategy in play here on these road courses. It makes it a lot of fun, and even for the drivers, it makes it a little bit fun because you just get an extra piece to play in this chess game that is IndyCar racing here in tonight's Into the Apex Indy 200. As you're looking at another good midfield battle, that is the number 14 machine there.
Brophy and Hunter Smith.
Hunter Smith, excuse me, the 54, getting my numbers a little bit back to front. But Hunter is hunting in that number 54 here, right behind Brophy, our points leader.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you shocked that you see the first six cars here, all 5 of the 6 rather are on the black tire? Are you shocked to see that Davis is starting out on that softer red compound? Is he just doing that to get the obviously the laps out of the way that you have to run on those, and just being different from the other 5 drivers that started on the black compound?
You have a very good point. I mean, Davis started in fourth. He's now up into third, so he's definitely making good use of those red tires here on the short term. It's one of those things where if you can get out front early and you can make it difficult to pass, especially because this racetrack is a difficult track to pass at, it can play to your advantage going out there a little bit early with those softer tires and trying to develop a gap. I mean, he's got 1.4 seconds back to Chad Frankenfield in the number 15. I kind of like the move for Davis, but things, of course, will turn when he's on the blacks and everyone else is on the reds. We'll see what happens there, but this racetrack's tough to pass at. I would rather be ahead rather than behind here at Mid-Ohio. Is just dipping a couple of wheels there back in the midfield as this continues to be, I think this is Rexing here in that yellow machine. I have to say, this is a great battle for position. 5th, 6th, and 7th right here are all on your screen.
Yeah, I remember just a couple weeks ago, and Carlos can contest to this, where early in the race at Road America, I think we had about a 3-car breakaway, and that's what it was for the majority of the race until Adriano Pinheiro kind of put the hammer down and said, I'm going to see you boys later. But yeah, we had about a 3-car breakaway, and then it was just single file, kind of like follow the leader for the rest of the race. I'm looking at the leaderboard now. Adriano Pinheiro and Butch Davis are within striking distance, and then you see Chad Frankenfield back by almost 2.5.
Push to pass for second.
Oh, here we go. Adriano Pinheiro to the lead, but Tyler Fode's going to slam the door. And Adriano Pinheiro, I guess, is just going to have to fall back to P2 and be a little bit more patient as he tried to overtake the lead from Tyler Fode, Peter, but Tyler Fode wasn't going to have any of it.
Yeah, I think that was a push-to-pass move by Pinheiro. Not sure if Fode defended with a push-to-pass, but did a good job defending the inside line into turn number 4. Let's go back and watch this one on the instant replay. So you can see Pinheiro got the power down out of turn number 2, got on that push-to-pass, and thought that he might have enough. But Fode did a great job, defended the inside line. That's, of course, the fastest way through that corner and able to then hold him off through the S's. So Tyler Fode putting together a stellar start to tonight's race in the opening 13.5 laps or so. That number 40 is looking good. Of course, comes into tonight up there in the point standings as well. So this could be the breakout night that Tyler Fode needs. 37 points behind Jason Brophy entering tonight's race. Looking for that first win on the season.
Yeah, he absolutely is a consistent finisher is Tyler Fode from year in and year out. We've seen the move on replay there that Pinheiro tried to make on Fode. Fode wasn't going to have any of it. Was that a move there? Pinheiro just getting over anxious, or maybe, just maybe, is that something to force Tyler Fode to think about later on in the race, Peter?
Fode did such a good job there defending that inside line. I mean, you could say, yeah, Pinheiro might have got a little bit over ambitious a little bit early on, but you got to try those things, especially when you feel like you get a good run coming out of turn number 2, because when you're in a field that's as close as this one on time, I mean, they were so close in qualifying, especially up at the top of the board, you really have to take your opportunity. If you get that opportunity handed to you, you think you have a shot to get out front, you might not get another shot for another 15, 20, 30, 40 laps even. So I don't blame Pinheiro for taking the attempt, but at the same time, Fode learned something too. Fode learned exactly how far back the number 56 can be and still not complete a pass at this stage of the race. That can be an important piece of information when you're watching your rear view mirror and you see a car coming up behind you and you decide to use a push to pass defensively. So both drivers, I think, learned something in that move.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That's a great point. And then also, too, you see the leaderboard there on the left. Pinheiro trying to make that pass. Fode slamming the door shut has kind of killed a little bit of Pinero's momentum now. I mean, he's cutting into Fode's lead ever so slightly, but it was, you know, 0.2 seconds. Fode has bumped it up to 0.6, so maybe a little bit of that momentum that Pinero had trying to make that pass. Fode has cut into it. We see, you know, Davis, you know, we talked about him starting out on the softer red compound tire. Now he's back 1.3 seconds back of leader Tyler Fode. So maybe that tire wear, that tire degradation that you talked about there might be coming into play here as we're getting on lap 16 of 80. What pit window wise, Peter, what are we looking at here at this road course?
You know, I honestly wish I knew. I'm a little bit unsure, but I think we'll probably see a 2 pit stop race, I would think. So you kind of do the math. When it comes to these road courses, I always think of doing the race backwards. So I go, okay, a 2 pit stop race, I'll split the race in thirds. So 80 divided by 3, probably somewhere in the lap 26 window, give or take a couple of laps, was when I'd start to expect to see some drivers elect to make the drive down pit road. So that isn't too long from now. If that is the case, we might see some drivers do a one-stopper, and who knows, sometimes the commentator's wrong as well. But I'm not seeing a lot of tire fall off. I was just kind of looking at that up and down the board. We are seeing Butch Davis starting to lose a little bit of ground. You know, we talked about how the red wall tires have a little bit of a pace advantage early in the run. Well, we see that Butch Davis currently has the fastest lap of the race here tonight, but over the last couple laps has been about 2 to 3 tenths slower than our top two, as Pinero here is starting to close back in. We saw it up to about 6 to 7 tenths of a second, but Pinero's brought it down now to just under 4 tenths of a second as they go through the final few corners to complete this lap.
Yeah, you see the lap times there up on your screen between Tyler Fode and second place driver Adriano Pinero. As you see the gap there slowly closing ever so slightly. As you said there, Davis as well on the red compound. He's fallen off as he was in the beginning of the race. And then back to pit strategy. I'm looking, Peter, to start seeing
here you go, push to pass.
Road. As here we go, as Pinero trying to make the pass again. Tyler Fode doing everything he can to slam the door. And Pinero's going to take the inside. Fode's on the outside down in the turn there. Pinero still trying to make the pass. Fode making it difficult, but Pinero finally completes that pass. And on lap 18, Adriano Pinero is your new leader of the race. But getting back to pit strategy, I am looking, if I did calculations correctly, I'm going to say around lap 28 to lap 30, Peter.
All right. Well, that was a great move by Pinero. Some great driving by both of them. I mean, they were side by side all the way into the S's. Finally, Fode had to give it up, but Pinero had just enough of a car ahead. Let's go back and watch the replay here. Just enough of a car ahead. You can see on the push to pass. You see that right there. He's blinking. He's getting all he can get out of the car, able to duck out from the slipstream. Off in the marbles even, but was able to complete the pass. Great move, got that nose out front. Fode came roaring back there through that right-hander, but those S's get so tight, there's only really a single line to slip your way through those S's, and it was owned by Pinero, able to get out front for the first time here tonight. Fode already dropping about a second back. It makes me wonder if Pinero might have used maybe even another push to pass just to get a little bit of a gap back to the number 40 of Fode. You know, that's one thing, Derik, that when I've raced these cars, or really when I race every car, you're always thinking about the car behind you until you get a little bit of a gap. And once you get a little bit of a gap, like Pinero has out front now, he can now focus on hitting his marks, as we got another replay queued up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're watching Evander Jonesy Field, the number 16 liquid racing machine. As you see, just goes around, doesn't put it in the kitty litter, goes around, lets all the cars go by so he doesn't cause any more of an accident, and is able to get it back on the track and back in racing condition. But yes, we are at lap 20. Adriano Pinero as took the lead about 2 laps ago. Now it's going to be interesting to see his car out in clean air. We've seen what it did a few weeks ago at Road America, where he dominated start to finish. Now it's going to see if he can do the exact same thing here at the second road course of the year here in beautiful Lexington, Ohio, at Mid-Ohio Sports Park. Tyler Fode, the pole winner, is currently second. Butch Davis on those red compounds. We wondered how long it was going to be before those tires started to fall off. He is still third, but 1.5 seconds behind race leader. Then you see fourth position, Chad Frankenfield, and then rounding out the top 5, Jared Rexing. So we are at lap 21 of 80 here from Lexington at the Into the Apex Motorsports Podcast Indy 200, like I said, from Mid-Ohio Sports Park. And we've had 2 race leaders. The gentleman that was on pole, Tyler Fode, who is currently P2, and Adriano Pinero, who dominated just a couple weeks ago at Road America, has found his way to the lead. This is Derik, Vance, and I'm joined in the booth for this race by Peter, and then Carlos. You'll hear from.
Do you guys see something weird with this car?
He is missing. That car is missing a left front wing.
That won't help the downforce all too much on that car, unfortunately. Something that I'm sure he feels behind the wheel.
Drag is lower though. I would think.
Yeah, I can't imagine how much of a handful that car is there with just the front wing there on the right side.
I want to take a quick moment to we've already had Peter thanking Worldwide Technology and Blue Egg Marketing. I also want to thank our series sponsors, Warrior for Peace. Warrior for Peace, a foundation promoting peaceful change in the world to honor the beautiful life of Jack Shockley. Check out warriorsforpeace.org for more information. That is warriors4peace.org. And thank you to our race sponsor, the Into the Apex Motorsports Podcast. They have brought the feel of real and virtual motorsports for over 3 years, every week, reliably. It's not your dull... Let me try that again. It's not your dull hour of sim racing radio. It's edgy, like a campground at the Sebring 12 hours, like a real group of sim racers on a Friday night. That is edgy, I'll give you that. This is provocative motorsports talk. Subscribe and follow weekly at intotheapex.com and on Spotify or iTunes. I will continue saying that double and until Dave or somebody else fixes that typo. And then Derik, how about you quickly talk about Push to Pass again?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the IndyCar season just right around the corner in a few weeks' time. You're going to hear the roar of the engines as the IndyCar season kicks off in the beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, Florida, for the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And we here on the Push to Pass podcast will be discussing not only all of the off-season moves by drivers, but we will be previewing that race in St. Petersburg as well. Myself, along with co-host Josh Roberts, we'll be talking all things IndyCar, from, like I said, the silly season, off-season that they've had, to previewing the race in St. Petersburg, and we'll do that every race week heading into race weekend. You can check us out, just like Carlos said there, on all of the major podcast outlets as we're riding on board here with Chad Frankenfield in fourth position. But yes, definitely, if you're looking for a IndyCar podcast to get hooked into, please join us over at the Push to Pass podcast. We'll bring you interviews, guests, as much as we can. I can tell you right now, just looking at the steering wheel there, Chad Frankenfield running in sixth gear there as he's trying to get up to P3. Butch Davis, who obviously is going to have to pit here shortly on those red compounds. Frankenfield trying to set him up in a few of the passing zones that there are, but Frankenfield just won't be able to complete. We almost had a Frankenfield turn Davis completely sideways there. But yeah, definitely check us out. And I can tell you our first guest coming up for the 2024 season will be fellow IndyCar podcaster, if you don't know him, Tony Donahue. Check his stuff out. But yes, can't wait to get IndyCar started, and go check us out over at the Push to Pass podcast.
Yeah, always great listen, and I love the start of the IndyCar season. When you got race cars on the racetrack in St. Petersburg, you know that the year has really started. But out there, we're watching this battle right now. Well, Butch Davis is really finally struggling on those red wall tires. Just about 3 or 4 laps ago, I was shocked that he was 1.5 seconds behind Pinheiro, but it has not been kind to the number 43 over the last 4 laps or so, because he now finds himself about 5.5 seconds adrift of our race leader. And Frankenfield on those black sidewall tires, we mentioned that the red tires give up pace a little bit sooner. Well, I think we're finally seeing that late in this run as the number 43. Got to give him credit. Butch Davis done a great job on those tires, keeping them alive as long as he has, but now heavily under fire from the number 15, and it's starting to grow back behind him. Rexing there in 5th, and then Brophy in 6th, all closing in on this battle for position. So I'm sure pressure will be on Frankenfield here. He knows that Davis is struggling on his tires, and he's starting to see some of the drivers in his rear view mirror get a little bit closer as he's stuck behind the number 43. We'll see if he can get the power down and use the push to pass here this lap. You see the push to pass counter here. Frankenfield is down to 6 presses here for the final 65 laps, or actually take that back, 55 laps. I'm only an engineer who can't do math, but tell you what, right now Frankenfield not able to do anything with Davis.
No, he is not. But as we were watching, we were on board there with Chad Frankenfield. You go back to the front there, and the Adriano Pinheiro race favorite has kind of extended his lead now, as we see cars coming into to the pit. So I was off by just about 2 laps, as we see Tyler Fode.
Frankenfield pit road, Fode pit road.
Yeah, a handful of the leaders coming in. So everybody's going to keep an eye on Pinheiro to see when he comes in. But he did have his lead to about 1.8 seconds. So his car, when it gets out in clean air, it's just it's a Sunday stroll for Pinheiro, as we see more cars coming down the pits. So it should just be a matter of time, I would assume, here before we see our race leader come in. Obviously he's looking for a nice clean stop and get back out there and try to get back the race lead.
Yeah, meanwhile, Tyler Fode, who just came in from 2nd, well, he's back out there on the racetrack after his pit stop, but buried in traffic. You see Tyler looking to the inside of Victor Del Porto here. Excuse me, that's
Justin Vandermeer
in the number 60. But he's kind of back there in traffic. I think this might give Adriano Pinheiro, who stays out another lap, a little bit of an advantage, because he's turned in really good lap times. Last time by Adriano set a 1 minute 9.75. That is just a 10th slower than the fastest lap that number 56 has put up all race. And in fact, I believe Pinheiro currently holds the fastest lap of the race. So Pinheiro's out there putting up absolute flyers of lap times, and Tyler Fode's stuck back there battling with some other traffic. So Pinheiro here, I think, has the advantage. The longer he can stay out, the longer he can keep clicking off fast lap times and growing his lead on the racetrack. So we'll keep our eyes on that as this pit sequence continues.
Yeah, we will, as we are now on board with the current points leader, rookie Jason Brophy, in the number 88 machine. Again, I just I love watching the driver's hands. Everything's just so smooth.
Everyone pit
in the
road.
corner. And there we go. So on the track, and now we have almost finished all of the uh, pits here, so we should be cycling through here shortly. But yeah, Peter, like you said, Pinero clicking off lap after lap, extending that lead as we see him now actually, I believe, leaving pit road. So I don't think he's going to give up the lead here as he comes back out. Everything's smooth in the pits, out of the pits, and getting back up to speed. So as we cycle back through, and you talked about the lap times that Pinero is running. Look at the gap now from first to second. I think when Fodi went in, it was under a second, and now it's up to 5.7 seconds. So Pinero has found something again for the second time in a row at a road course. Again, so far we're only on lap 29 of 80, but that 5-second lead, Peter, it's going to seem like it's bigger than just 5 seconds, especially to Tyler Fodi.
Yeah, and if you're Tyler Fodi, you're just thinking, well, should I have pitted when I pitted? Nah, probably not. That's a little bit of a mistake. Now, of course, he might have been running low on fuel, because sometimes the gas tank tells you when you have to pit, but those are little things as a race car driver you think back on and you go, ugh. And then those start to grow in your head as the race goes on. So Tyler's he has to erase that from his memory, focus on hitting his marks. There's the 22
Sudik
machine we're riding on board with right there. That's Sudik out into the tire barrier, lost the front wing. Gonna have to come on to pit road, get a new front wing. Hopefully not a lot of damage on the number 22, but cold tires possibly there, Derik.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's definitely. Go ahead, Carlos.
No, you go. Keep talking.
No, I think Peter's absolutely right. The cold tires are definitely to blame on that. As we stay green, Tyler Fodi almost caught a break there. As we're going to see the replay to see exactly what happened with Nicholas Sudik in this machine here. As you see him coming out of the turn, he wiggles a little bit and then loses the back end into the kitty litter, which sends him flying into the tire barrier. You see his wings and nose cone there just hanging on by its tether. But this could have been, Peter, a blessing in disguise, especially for Tyler Fodi, if the yellow would have flown, but unfortunately it didn't. But if it would have, what a break for Tyler Fodi, and what a heartbreak it would have been for Adriano Pinero.
Yeah, that gap, which is now up to 7.36 seconds, would have been erased if we had seen a caution, but no caution to be seen. We stay green flag. It has been a great race. If you're just now joining into the Apex Podcast Indy 200, it was a great battle early on between the 56 and the number 40, but Pinero has been able to stretch it out. Tyler Fodi was our pole sitter here for this one. Chad Frankenfield up into third, was able to leapfrog the number 43 of Butch Davis in that pit sequence, so move Frankenfield up into the podium. Then the number 91 of Stanley sitting in fifth, Rexing in sixth, and wow, Brophy has actually dropped a spot in that pit sequence as well, so a little bit of a shuffle in the order here as we have now got past the 1/3 race distance, Derik. We talk about this racetrack being difficult to pass. Pitting is a huge opportunity to make a move, and we've seen some shuffling happening inside the top 10.
Yeah, we absolutely have. We've talked about how much a bad pit stop can hurt you, especially when it comes to a track position, especially on a road course. Right there we see the points leader. We see the points leader right there, Jason Brophy, who is now almost 12 seconds behind. So if you're Brophy now, unless you can find a way and find some speed and make up the track position to catch Adriano Pinero, I think the best, Brophy would be looking for right now is going to be a top 5, just so he can, keep that points lead and try to stretch it a little bit, try to avoid, putting your car into a tire barrier or into another car. Just a Sunday ride needs to be in store for Jason Brophy. And if he does that for the next handful of laps and gets out of here, scot-free, damage-free, I think he's got to be overexcited about that finish if he cannot catch Pinero this evening.
Interesting. Brophy able to make the pass on the outside into the keyhole there, turn number 2. Good move. I was just about to mention, though, Derik, that you see the red sidewall tires on Brophy. A lot of the cars around him still on the black sidewall tires. So definitely going with the option here in the middle the middle portion of the race, as I'm sure he'll go back to the black tires for his final run. But this also gives him a data point, Derik. He started off the race on the black sidewall tires. Now he's on the option tire. He can feel it out. He can say, you know what? I think the option tire is the better tire for me for the final stint of the race, if he decides to do that. Or he can go back to the tire that, of course, he started on, because he has met his obligation to use both sets of tires in tonight's event with this middle stint. So Brophy gonna start to try and close in on Ethan Stanley as well. That would be a battle for position, as he has a look to the inside there in the keyhole. Was able to get Stanley to bite to kind of block the corner, but Brophy not able to get the drive out of the corner, as I have to say, Stanley did a fantastic job getting through the keyhole. Now all over the back bumper of the number 43 machine. We see a move here for the 4th spot. Yes, we do. Give it to Ethan Stanley off into turn number 4.
Yeah, good move there by Stanley as he gets around the Butch Davis machine. And now he sets his sights on P3, where Chad Frankenfield is currently just doing pit strategy here for the next round of stops. I had him pegged at lap 28. So if you take it in the next 28 laps, that puts it at about lap 56, I do believe, with math.
Lap 26. Went down the road.
26. Okay. So yeah, math not the strong suit there. But as you see, I was waiting for that graphic to come up on screen. So it's going to be interesting to see on this last stint here shortly. Yeah, that's definitely me in math class. How many of these top drivers, behind Pinero, go to that red softer compound. Obviously, it goes away a lot quicker. But just to see how many laps they can put on those tires, and if it'll make a difference here, as we see Tyler Fode getting a little bit of competition there, as he's falling almost 10 seconds now behind Pinero, 8.9 to be exact. So interesting this last stint here when it comes up, how many of those drivers will go to that red softer compound tire, just to see if they can cut in and chase down race leader Adriano Pinero.
Gotta love the side-by-side action here. Battles all around this racetrack. I have to say, yes, it's a difficult racetrack to pass that, but it usually, because of that fact, does give some accordion effect and some tight racing, some close racing. As here we go on board with Frankenfield as he looks to the inside of one of the lapped cars out there. Now Frankenfield's going to have to watch his rear view mirror. We talked about Stanley. We saw Stanley make a move 2 or 3 laps ago now, right here into turn number 4, but Stanley got a good run out of the keyhole once again, almost pulling up to the rear wing of the 15. So Stanley in the Blue Egg Marketing Dallara here, all over the back bumper of Frankenfield. That happened in an absolute flash. It happened with a flash when Stanley got to the back of Davis. Davis losing another spot to Brophy, as well as slide to 43, now back into 6. So Davis, who spent a majority of tonight's race in 3rd, is a little bit of connection issues there with the number 91 of Stanley. Well, we got to give a shout out to Blue Egg Marketing while we have Blue Egg on screen. Of course, Blue Egg, the marketing department for small businesses. We're your marketing department. Small business owners, Blue Egg is your biggest fan. Constraints catalyze creativity. We help business punch above their weight class. Go check out Blue Egg Marketing while they have marketing on the side of this very fast number 91 machine of Stanley, still running in the 4th position, so not quite able to capitalize on closing in on Chad Frankenfield, but still plenty of laps here left tonight. As well, look at the numbers, we're only 4 laps away from seeing the halfway mark here in the Into the Apex Podcast Indy 200.
Yeah, we were just riding along there with Ethan Stanley in the Blue Egg machine. Gotta love Blue Egg, and they have to love seeing their guy running in the top 5. As he only has 8 pushes left on that push to pass button. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys back in the field play this, because Tyler Fody is now 10 seconds behind the race leader. As we see, Chad Frankenfield has 4 pushes left on the button. Ethan Stanley has 8 pushes left on the button, and we're at lap 38 of 50. So these guys are gonna have to make a decision here what they're gonna do if they want to try to cut into Pinero's lead here, or if they're just they're just content with trying to defend their position. Currently, a lot of things got to be going through these drivers' minds. Peter here, like I said, we are 2 laps away from halfway. Maybe you can take us in the mind of what these drivers are thinking right now. We can start with Tyler Fody, who's 10 seconds back. He was on pole and led for a handful of laps, and then Adriano Pineros, we see on board here with Tyler Fody. Adriano Pinero took the lead from Tyler and has not had to look back. What's the mindset of these drivers now as they see the deficit that is gradually growing in front of them as we are almost halfway home?
Well, at this stage of the race, if you're Tyler Fody, you have one more pit stop left. You cannot mess up the money stop. You might think, well, Adriano Pinero out front maybe might make a mistake. If a small mistake is had, that 10 seconds can go away in an absolute hurry. So Tyler Fody, you're out there. Keep your tires underneath you as we go on board here with Stanley with a late lunge around the outside, was on the button, on the push to pass, able to pull off that move on Chad Frankenfield. We saw that Ethan Stanley had more push to passes left in his reservoir than Frankenfield did. Well, he used one there, and it worked out. Ethan Stanley up into 3rd, and using up all the racetrack and then some to try and put a little bit of a between himself and Chad Frankenfield.
Carlos, I seen the graphic there that you put up on screen, and I thought that was me walking away from the Thanksgiving dinner table. But yes, Ethan Stanley does get around Chad Frankenfield, bumped him up to P3. So right now, if things ended the way they did, Ethan Stanley would be collecting a podium for this race. But now he sits about 11.5 seconds off the pace there, as it's Pinero, Fody, Stanley, Frankenfield, points leader Brophy round out the top 5. Rexing, Butch Davis, Simpson, Forsyth, and Presley Sora round out the top 10 as we are at lap 40 of 80 scheduled for this Into the Apex Motorsports podcast, Indy 200, coming live from beautiful Mid-Ohio Sports Park in beautiful Lexington, Ohio.
Why don't we go ahead and take a quick moment now that we're about to be halfway, well, crossing halfway here now. Let's go ahead and listen to the beautiful sights and sounds of these, well, listen to the sounds and look at the beautiful sights of these race cars and the track facilities. I want to go ahead and bring the noise up here for a little bit. I'm going to have to quickly turn off the elite sponsors. Let's crank up those engine noises. Let's take a little break as we listen on board.
And our points leader, the number 88 of Brophy, just out of the S's, has looped it around and has lost his front wing. It was a battle for the second position, which was about 4 cars deep. But our points leader cracking here. I mentioned earlier in the show that if you're the points leader coming into tonight, you just don't want to make any mistakes. You want to hit your marks lap after lap. But look at this, coming out of the S's, this corner, you kind of go over a ridge. The back end gets a little bit light, and the 88 into the tire barrier.
I'm not sure.
Number 88 machine.
We weren't planning on coming back this soon. I'm not sure if Derik is still back yet, but wow, it's that's a real shocker. We were talking about our, the regular IndyCar producer Robert Hill and sharing some stories during the break, and all of a sudden Peter screaming, saying that the points leader has crashed. The points leader has crashed.
So that will bring Jason Brophy onto pit road for a new front wing. Brophy back out there on the racetrack is back down the running order down to 15th position as we get one more look.
Just too much beans.
Too many beans, Carlos. You and I know too many beans will put you in the tire barrier every day of the week and other things. As there you see, trying to get those red sidewall tires up to temperature. Just doing the math in my head, we're 36 laps to go. Don't think the 88 will be in the window to make it the rest of the way. So unfortunately, we have seen the first issue for our points leader here really so far this season. So Brophy now with a lot of work left to do in the back half of tonight's race. As meanwhile, that has, well, we've been away. New second place. How about the number 91 of Ethan Stanley's got around Tyler Fode. So Fode here really kind of falling off. I thought, well, maybe Tyler Fode might have just been saving his tires a little bit. You know, we saw him fall back off of Pinheiro. But unfortunately for Fode, lost that second spot to Ethan Stanley, and now falling into the clutches of Chad Frankenfield. Ethan Stanley able to put almost a second on the number 40. So Frankenfield was on the podium a little while ago until Ethan Stanley got by. Gonna try and possibly make the move as Frankenfield is all over the back of Fode, but Fode there, 10 push to pass is still left here tonight. Not sure if he forgot to map the push to pass button or just is leaving
Frankenfield's on
late,
it.
but here comes Frankenfield on the push to pass. Gonna
two
try
remaining.
and fly around the outside. Just 2 push passes remaining there as Carlos, that's going to put him at a little bit of a disadvantage late in the race, but you know, I said this racetrack it's tough to pass at. We saw that right there as Fode once again defended the inside, so our pole sitter struggling now in the number 40. Just wonder if maybe burned up his tires a little bit too much trying to battle through some of that traffic early in the run. We saw him stuck behind a couple of cars coming off of pit road. That's what gave a big gap to Pinheiro.
I was pretty close there for Stanley. I thought he lost the front wing for a second.
So far, so good for the Blue Egg Machine. Now up into second. Stanley started this race, you know, towards the front of the field. Started on the second row in third. Plus 1 spot. Biggest mover of the race is currently in 10th position. Gavin Hibbs started in 25th up into the top 10. Trying to close in on the 09 of Beeman in front of him. Then got the Canadian driver Forsyth a little bit, Craig Forsyth a little bit up the road, a couple of seconds. But it's been a good race for Forsyth as well. You know, we talked about the drivers making a move. Craig Forsyth started in 15th, now up into 8th. So slowly but surely been clicking him off. As we do have one car around. Patrick Stein has gone around on the front stretch in the 01 machine, nosed it into the wall. Unfortunately, just caught that just a moment ago. Here's the number 43, Butch Davis.
He had a great run there, Peter, early in the race, but as his softer compound red tires fell off, we gradually seen him fall back in the field. He's currently sitting right outside the top 5 in 6th place. But yeah, I wanted to give a shout out there. You talked about in 10th place there, Hibbs. You know, somebody that we didn't talk about who's just slowly crept his way through the field. Started 25th up in the top 10. So kudos to him. Hopefully he's able to keep everyone at bay for the last 32 laps of this race. But you know, every turn that is made here, I just see that Adriano Pinheiro's lead just keeps getting wider and wider here.
Yeah, up to 15 seconds up at the front of the field. As meanwhile, we just talked about Hibbs. Hibbs having a look to the inside of the 09 machine. It's a good battle just at around the 9th position, 9th and 10th, as we focus on the 43 of Butch Davis here, who, yeah, like you said, definitely fallen off in this the second half of the race. But Derik, one thing to note is, yeah, okay, so Davis has fallen off. He's on those black sidewall tires. Maybe just those blacks do not working out for him. Do you think maybe we'll see him on the option tire for the final run to the finish?
Yeah, I would think here, as you know, as Pinheiro his stretches his lead out here as the laps tick off. one by one. We got 31 laps to go here. I would not be surprised to see a lot of the cars that are up there with the, you can't say the leaders, obviously, but up there in the top 10 as Hibbs slips to 9th. But it would not surprise me to see those lead pack cars all go to red softer compounds here with just 30 laps to go, because we've seen how the run that Davis was able, the amount of laps he was able to do on that, I think is going to fall right under that category. So when we cycle through this last round of stops, which I think will be coming up here shortly, I think a lot of those teams are going to go to the softer red compound for this last cycle.
Yeah, of course, it is a requirement that you at least have, one run on the red tires. So we've seen Pinero on the black tires for both of the first 2 runs. So we know the last run will be on the option tires, but we have seen a couple of drivers dabble on the option tires with the black side mold tires as well. But of course, after tonight's race, it is the 1/3 distance in the championship, just 8 rounds left before we round out the season, of course, at Worldwide Technology Raceway. And got to give them a shout out. Of course, one of the premier partners here of the series, Worldwide Technology Raceway, is a motorsport racing facility in Madison, Illinois, just east of St. Louis, Missouri, United States, close to the Gateway Arch. You can see the Gateway Arch in iRacing and in real life from the track. It features a 1.25-mile oval that hosts the NASCAR Cup Series, Craftsman Truck Series, and the NTT IndyCar Series, a 2-mile infield road course used by the Steed Tour, Trans Am, SCCA, Porsche Club of America, and of course, quarter-mile NHRA sanctioned drag strip, hosting the annual NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series Midwest Nationals, and can't forget the Kartplex, the state-of-the-art karting facility, all at the same place. What a great place. Worldwide Technology Raceway also playing host to the final round of the Warriors for Peace Indycar Series here in the Elite Racing League. On board with Chad Frankenfield.
Just used his
There
last push to pass.
A battle for 3rd.
Yeah, as Carlos put the graphic up there in his eloquent handwriting, Chad Frankenfield, who is currently in P4 with 28 laps to go, has 0, I say 0, push to pass left. So it's going to be interesting to see. He's going to have to get around Tyler Fode all on his own. As you see, we're inside the Chad Frankenfield machine, but he has 0 push to pass left. So it's going to be all on him now to get around Tyler Fode, because he's not going to have that extra boost, that extra little kick in the pants, so to say, to get around Fode. So it's all going to be on the driving skills of Chad Frankenfield, rather, to get around Tyler Fode this evening.
Yeah, I think we saw a graphic a little while ago that said Fode still had all 10 push passes.
He has 9
left.
now.
And so it sounds like, okay, he's used 1.
Stanley, calm down there. You don't want to run out before the race is over.
Yeah, don't want to run out before the race is over.
Excuse me, Fode. Stanley has 6 remaining.
Yeah.
Chris Simard still has all 10. He's the only driver on the lead lap with all 10 remaining. Or on track with all 10 remaining.
Well,
Fode pit road, Frankenfield pit road.
This point of the race, as long as you map your push to pass button. I've made that mistake before. But Fode here on pit road with Frankenfield. Now, I'm going to bring this up, Derik. If you're out of push to pass, it's really the only way, in my opinion, for Franken to get around Fode, I would think, would be on pit road. But they both come on pit road together. That's a bit of a surprise for me. I would have thought that if Frankenfield saw Fode coming down pit road, that maybe Frankenfield was going to try and go an extra lap to try and do the overcut. But they're on pit road together, and they exit pit road together.
Yeah, I think maybe coming in as we see Chad Frankenfield here going with the softer red compound tire, as does Tyler Fode. So I wonder if my prognostication, I believe that's how that's pronounced, is going to come true, where they're going to go to that softer red compound when everybody cycles through. But all eyes, I think, are on the race leader to see what his lead's going to be when he decides to come in, which it looks like right there is the race leader there for a split second. But yeah, he what a race that Adriano has ran again this evening, with just 26 laps to go, as we see the Blue Egg Machine come in as well. Maybe Frankenfield thought that was going to be the only way he could have got around. Fode was pitting at the same time and trying to beat him out in the pits, and it looks like that's not going to be obviously the case either. So Frankenfield is going to have to strap in and do it all on his own if he wants to get around Fode and finish in the top 5 this evening.
So pit stops happening here. This is what we expect to have the final round of pit stops here tonight. Don't expect to see these drivers on pit road any more times unless something happens to one of them, like we have seen to a couple of the key players here tonight. If you tuned away for just a little bit, now you're back. Well, we did see our points leader make a little bit of a mistake coming through the S's, and Jason Brophy is on the back foot. Had to make a unscheduled pit stop for a wing change. On board with him right now, trying to make a pass on Vandermeer. Looks like we'll complete that pass into China Beach. Haven't seen too many drivers off in China Beach here tonight, so I think the old pail and bucket to make sandcastles is not really being used, as here comes Forsyth in of course, the very memorable Forsyth paint scheme. I loved that paint scheme. That brings back my youth and my love for IndyCar, as Forsyth will take on a option set of tires, the red wall tires. He's down and away. You got another car sitting on pit road. Looks like that's the number 42 machine.
Pat Simpson, yeah.
That's Vandermeer on pit road as well. So 25 laps to go. It is go time here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, but Pinero out front is really commanding this one, much like what we saw at Road America.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same. It's the old Aerosmith song. It's the same song and dance. Pinero just bided his time as we got 25 to go, and then when he found his way to the front and got his car out in clean air, it was adios amigos, and that's exactly what has happened this evening, as he holds a 24-second lead over second place Jared Rexing, again with just 25 laps to go. So at this point, as we see Butch Davis again going to that softer red compound, so I think teams are saying, what do we have to lose, at this point, going with that softer red compound tire. But again, with just 25 laps
Pinero
to
pit road.
Pinero does come down pit road for his last stop of service. I think when he comes back out, basically his mindset, Peter, and I'm sure you can you can contest to this, is just going to be to hit those marks that he has hit all race long, not to make a mistake and bring this one home.
Here we go, compound change.
Yeah, going on those red tires for his final stint here tonight. And like you said, going to try and bring it home. Got to keep hitting those marks lap after lap. Looks like we got Rexing on pit road in the Nesquik machine. Has been pretty quick here tonight in the number 10. Throwback to Scott Riggs days. Is right there. It's the number 22 machine. We've seen him with troubles earlier on. Sudik lost a front wing, but otherwise has been pretty quick here tonight. Just had that one mistake, pretty much where we saw the number 88 of Brophy also have trouble. That little corner where we did see Brophy have trouble, same as Sudik. It's a difficult corner, and we'll see if we can go on board maybe with one of these cars when they're working their way through the S's, because and you mentioned it at the top of the show as well, Derik, is this racetrack does have some undulation. Here we go, on board with Chad. Watch this little crest that you go over. You can't see the exit of the corner until right there late. And as the race car dips away from you, just the weight transfer on the suspension, you get on the gas a little bit too much, you will go around. And it caught out our points leader here tonight. You can see it be kind of a roller coaster of a racetrack. It makes it fun, at least from a driver's perspective. I've always enjoyed racing around this particular track because of it.
Yeah, you definitely got to be on your P's and Q's here as we're riding with the race leader here with 23 to go. You see he's got a little bit of lap traffic there in front of him, but other than that, it's pretty much clean sailing for Pinero. But looking through the scoring pylon there on the left-hand side, we talked about if Brophy wasn't able to win the race, just getting a consistent finish. He finds himself in 7th place, so he's kept his nose clean. He just do that for the next 23 laps or so, and he's gonna have a consistent finish. As you see that lap car there just get out of the way.
Fastest lap of the race.
Racing by. That was the fastest lap of the race there for Adriano Pinero. So the longer this race goes on, the quicker Adriano gets, and obviously that's bad news for everyone else. But again, 1 minute 8 and 70 seconds. Wow, what a lap just laid down there by Adriano Pinero with just 22 to go. But getting back to Brophy for a second, he wanted to leave here. If he couldn't win the race, obviously, just get a consistent finish, get some more points, and try to build that lead as we roll along here in the 2024 season. And again, as long as he keeps his nose clean there for the next 22 laps, Peter, I think Jason Brophy can check mark that box.
I think the big question about Brophy right now, though, is whether or not he can make it to the end on that tank of fuel. Of course, that to come down on lap number 43 for a wing change. That would be asking him to go about 38 laps on fuel. I just don't think he will be able to make it. So I think he'll just need a splash of fuel to see out to the end. So he's still going to try and make as much use out of those red sidewall tires, but I think we'll see him on pit road one more time. Here is the number 95 of Hibbs, however. We've talked about him having a strong run in this one, plus 15 spots from his grid spots. So going to try and run down the 42 of Simpson in front of him. About a second and a half between them, but a good battle here in the mid-pack. As behind Gavin Hibbs is Tyler Bimman in the 09, and Presley Sora a little bit further adrift. So we'll keep our eyes on those drivers as the lap count continues to wind down. But let's see if we can go back up to Chad Frankenfield in the number 15 machine, still running right behind Tyler Fode. Out of those push-to-passes, you would think at this point Frankenfield might be a little bit faster than Tyler Fode, but with how difficult it is to pass here, and the fact that he's out of push to passes, he's got his hands tied. What do you think Frankenfield is thinking right now, Derik, behind the wheel of the 15?
Yeah, he's definitely in a difficult position here with just 20 laps to go. As you see, he tries to get on the rear wing there of Tyler Fode, but with Frankenfield not having any push to pass left, like I said, he's definitely behind the 8 ball. So his best strategy, I think, maybe at this point, is just try to stay in the position that he is there. In P4, his season hasn't gotten off to the best of starts. So maybe finishing in the top 5, maybe will jumpstart Frankenfield a little bit and start to build a little bit of momentum, as we get to tracks where he may be better at. So, he may be better off at just, trying to defend P4 and take that home this evening.
Yeah, when you leave a racetrack with a good result, it's always a good feeling, but it's definitely a better feeling when you can see you're in the point standings. As like you said, Chad has definitely not had a great start to the Warriors for Peace Indycar Series season here in 2024. Just kind of looking at the point standings, I'd kind of expect Frankenfield to be inside the top 10 in points. I know he's a fast driver. I've raced with him as well. Definitely a driver who can be a championship contender given the right scenarios. Chad down in 16th in the points entering into tonight's event. So, like you said, a top 5, that I'm sure will check a box in the Chad Frankenfield camp. So, going to try and get past Tyler Fode, but things up against him without any push to passes. Here we go with Ethan Stanley, the Blue Egg Machine, putting together a strong run. Definitely has found his pace here around the middle portion of the race. Makes me kind of wonder, Derik, if Ethan Stanley had found that pace a little bit sooner, whether or not he'd be able to at least give Panero a little bit of a fight up there at the front of the field. But Adriano up to a 16.5-second lead. Pretty much insurmountable with 18 laps to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm of the same mindset. If obviously if Ethan Stanley had it to do all over again, I'm curious to hear what he would change. So if he's able to stay in that podium position that he's currently at, definitely that'll be something worth asking here in about 18 laps or so. But the biggest battle we're seeing right on screen here is between the third place Tyler Fode and fourth place Chad Frankenfield. Obviously, Chad is doing everything he can as he pulls up beside Tyler Fode, but he just can't quite complete the pass.
Oh, contact!
Just yet. And you see he had a little bit of contact there with Tyler Fode that's going to kill Chad Frankenfield's momentum as you see a little damage right there. Carlos just pointed out there on the Frankenfield machine. So now, maybe this is where, Frankenfield kicks in that strategy that I just spoke of, where just try to defend that fourth place position, because you see he tried to, as he's missing a left wing there, he tried to race Tyler. Go ahead.
I was going to say, he's diving onto pit lane. You could see him losing all types of time to Tyler Fode. Definitely lost a lot of front downforce on the front nose, so that is going to be absolutely killer, as unfortunately we don't quite have enough pit boxes here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, so he has to share a pit box with one of the other cars right there on your screen. Looks like maybe getting a little bit more damage repaired than just a wing change. There you go, there's wing. And so Frankenfield is down and away, so he's going to lose quite a bit of time. We know he's good to the finish, though, down to 8th, so that moves a couple of the drivers up. Let's go back and catch this one on the replay. It was tight here for turn number 5, and just a little bit of contact going into turn number 5 took off the left front wing.
Man, that's got to be devastating for Chad Frankenfield, as we see coming up that elevated area there. Tyler Fode wasn't, I don't think he knew how close he was to Chad Frankenfield. Frankenfield didn't know how close he was to Fode, and they touch, and unfortunately Chad Frankenfield gets the worst end of it as he loses a left wing, has to come into the pits as we're going to ride up front there with Chad Frankenfield. We're going to see that back right tire just touch a little bit of the Chad Frankenfield machine, which knocks that left wing off, since Frankenfield spinning a little bit, and then has to send him into the pits, and he lost all that track position. He goes from 4th all the way down to 8th position with just 16 laps to go. We see our points leader hitting the pits one last time, just probably for that splash of gas like you predicted just a few laps ago.
Yeah, so that will drop Brophy down the running order. We'll see where he resumes here. But I have to say, Tyler Fode, that was one heck of a save out of the number 40 as well. I mean, we saw what happened to Frankenfield, but Fode got a pretty good shot in a portion of the racetrack where the car is unloaded going around that very tight turn number 5. You saw in that moment of contact that Fode had to correct the car. Did a stellar job keeping it on the road. That could have been a big moment for both the 40 and the number 15. And Fody able to keep it together. Now, Rexing starting to come into play. Just wonder if there was any damage to the rear under tray of Tyler Fody's machine that's allowing Jared Rexing to really start to close in. Just 1.2 seconds now between the 40 and the 10. Still about 7 seconds back to the 43 of Davis. Then another 15 seconds back to Forsyth. So some pretty big gaps forming out there on the racetrack. But there is a battle right now for the 8th position between Simpson and Hibbs for the 8th position as Hibbs continues his great run here tonight from the 25th spot on the grid. Here he goes out of the keyhole. Gonna have a look through the kink here, just showing his nose. Not on the push to pass, but does say, hey, I'm here. You know, just gonna show my nose. Apply the pressure to the number 42, and we'll be all surprised if Hibbs gets another one before the checkered flag falls.
Yeah, he has two pushes left on that activation button as he keeps getting ever so close to that car in front of him. What a run for Hibbs this evening, cracking the top 10. Let's see if he can stay there with just 14 laps to go. Looks like the race between between third and fourth, Tyler Fody and Jared Rexing is heating up a little bit. Fody has the spot. Rexing wants the spot. Butch Davis right there in fifth place, and then you got Forsyth rather. Frankenfield, who had late contact, and is seventh. Simpson 8th, Hibbs 9, and Beeman 10th with just 13 laps to go.
Yeah, so the lap count coming down very quickly as we are also down to almost just 10 cars on the lead lap as well. Speaking of things that are coming down pretty quickly, as Narrow continues to click off fast times up at the front of the field. Here is your points leader, the number 88 machine.
Fastest lap of the race.
Number 4 did turn that fast lap of the race. So fresh tires, lower fuel amounts. Gonna use it as much as he can to try and pick up some spots late here in the race. Jason Brophy is about 4 seconds behind Presley Sora for the 11th spot. Brophy finds himself 1 lap down as we do have another taker on pit road. This is Tyler Beeman on pit road in the 09. Not exactly 100% sure why. Maybe he had a scheduled pit stop earlier in the race. Maybe going to try and go for a fast lap as looks like gets joined on pit road by Bradley Beeman. The Mad Sim Racing teammates coming down here with under 15 laps remaining here in the Into the Apex podcast Indy 200.
Yeah, just laps winding down here. 12 to go. Right there, our race leader, Adriano Pinero. It took him about I think a dozen or so laps, maybe just a little bit more, to take control of the lead, and now he has drove away from the rest of the pack. Ethan Stanley he's got a nice race going on as well. He is currently in second place, trying to race down Pinero. 16, almost 17 seconds. Might be a tall task here with just 12 laps to go. But again, second road course of the year, and Adriano is going to go. Unless something miraculous, something catastrophic happens between now and 11 laps. He is going to be 2 for 2 this year on road courses. Got to be happy with not only his start, but it'll be 4 races now, 2 wins in 4 races. Obviously that's going to do tremendous, not only to his confidence, but where it's going to put him in the points, especially with points leader Jason Brophy in 11th place, and down a lap. So not as consistent finish as what Brophy was looking for this evening. So the points lead, when it's all said and done, after we leave here mid-Ohio, is definitely, I think, in my opinion, going to shrink. And it would not surprise me after all the math is done if Adriano Pinero does have that points lead going into the next race. As we see a battle for third here, Jared Rexing now has moved his machine up to third. Tyler Fody moves down to fourth. And Butch Davis rounds out your top 5 with just 11 laps remaining.
Yeah, it does make me wonder whether Fody did pick up a little bit of under tray damage with that contact with Chad Frankenfield. But what a great run for the number 10 of Jared Rexing onto the podium with just 10 laps remaining. Now, Ethan Stanley, I might need to start calling this guy the bridesmaid. Second place at Auto Club, runner-up again at Road America after starting on the pole. Currently running in second here again tonight. Now, did have a tough race at Kansas, finishing down in 35th. But Ethan Stanley, besides that 35th place finish at Kansas, also off to a stellar start to the year, especially if he can see that out again here tonight with another podium. Just not yet able to break the winners into the winner's circle, but of course we still do have 10 laps. Anything can happen in racing. I've seen stranger things happen. I've seen drivers, in fact, I was broadcasting a race once and a driver had about a 50-second lead, and all of a sudden they came onto pit road, and I wondered why on earth did the driver just give up the lead with 2 laps to go. And the reason was they had a tornado warning, and they legitimately had a tornado headed right for their house. It didn't hit the person's house, but I thought that was very strange when I was guessing. It had us absolutely confused up in the booth. So stranger things have happened, but at least for right now, hopefully there's no tornadoes for Pinero out front. But 15 seconds, 9 laps to go. Still commanding lead for the number 56. But Ethan Stanley's been putting up some good laps over the last 3 or 4 laps. Actually starting to eat into the lead just a little bit. But definitely a great race for these drivers tonight.
I guess, the moral of that story is, I guess sometimes you have to make a what's called a business decision, huh?
That's one way to put it. I'll tell you that losing an iRacing race might sting a little bit, but not as much as getting hit by a tornado. We'll just put it that way. So, yeah, that poor driver. Every time I see him, I bring that up. But right now, just looking down the running order, I'm just curious to see if what the push to pass status is right now between Jared Rexing and Tyler Fody. We know that Fody was leaving a lot of push to passes till late in the race. I wonder how many are still available to.
Yes. All right. Brace yourselves, because boy has he gone through them. He has 9 remaining.
Wow, 9 remaining with 8 laps to go. Man,
use it now, Fody.
Yeah, not seeing the lights light up there on the Cosworth steering wheel. It definitely seems like Tyler Fody, I don't know if he's forgotten about the push to passes, or maybe the button's not working on his steering wheel. That's a possibility, but it's go time. It's go time. You better use them or you lose them.
It'll roll over.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, they don't roll over. They're not cell phone minutes, but yeah, that is interesting that Tyler Fody
God,
has
cell phone
conserved.
minutes. What a time to be alive.
It's interesting that he hasn't used them yet. Maybe we'll see if he can get close to Jared Rexing within 7 laps, and maybe he uses them all at once. I don't know, but yeah, that's interesting that he has conserved them to this portion of the race.
Keep our eyes on the steering wheel here as they deal with a little bit of lap traffic here going into the keyhole. Keep your eyes on the steering wheel. See if those kind of triangular lights light up green. No, they do not. You want to hit that push to pass right out of the corner, right when you get the rear tires gripped up to maximize its usage down that long straightaway. But again, nothing from Tyler Fode. Maybe at this point he's just in conservation mode. Could be saving fuel. Not sure what his fuel situation is. Of course, push to pass will
lap
burn a
52.
little bit extra fuel. So yeah, putting on lap number 52. That's asking 58.
Do the math.
Not 58. 28 laps to the end of
That's
the
about a
race.
full tank
So,
right there.
yeah, so I don't know. Might be low on fuel. Might be trying to save just a little bit, and that could also be the reason, Derik, why we're seeing Fode maybe drop off the pace here late in the race. Maybe didn't quite run the numbers like he should have, and been just having to save a little bit.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. If if there was some fuel miscalculations there, apparently Rainman wasn't running the fuel numbers there for Tyler Fode. But yeah, that's a great point that maybe he is running low on fuel with just 6 laps to go, and he's trying to milk it home.
So we'll see if we have any drivers run out. Of course, they have quite a bit of telemetry that these drivers get to kind of monitor how much fuel they have left and what iRacing is predicting from a fuel usage. I'll be honest with you, iRacing fuel prediction technology has gotten a lot better over the years. There was definitely a period of time where it was not very reliable, as I think we're on board here potentially with the number 42 of Simpson, right behind Hibbs. So Hibbs has worked his way up into 8th. We said I wouldn't be too surprised if he picked up another spot before the checkered flag. So how about that? Hibbs plus 17 from the drop of the green earlier in the show. Also behind them, Jason Brophy trying to close in on fresher tires as well. So Jason Brophy might be able to make a charge up to 8th, but he's only got 5 laps to do it. Not sure how many push-to-pass is also left on the 88, but fresher tires will help just a little bit as Tyler Fode
2 left.
continuing to 2 left on Brophy. That's just enough, Derik, to make 2 passes if he's lucky, but catching him is one thing, passing is another.
Yeah, we've obviously seen this evening that you can get on the back rear wing of somebody, but just because you get back to that back rear wing doesn't necessarily mean that you can make the pass cleanly or complete the pass. So gonna have their hands full here as we're on board with just 4 laps to go. And you see the points leaders you talked about. Jason Brophy finds his way back inside the top 10 there. Frankenfield, after the late wing work that he had to get, he's found himself back in the top 10 as well. So all the drivers there, all of the drivers that are in the top 10 just cruising along here, trying to hold that position down with just a little less than 4 laps to go.
Yeah, and Frankenfield's locked in a battle with Forsyth for the 6th position as well. Riding on board with Frankenfield here, trying to come out of the keyhole. Not on the push to pass.
He has none.
He has no push. He saw them about 20 laps ago. We covered that. So Frankenfield might be stuck there in 7th, but a valiant effort to run down Forsyth for 6th, at least apply the pressure late in the races. You can see Simpson here not on the push to pass. He was 1 lap ago. Makes
6
me wonder if
remaining.
Hibbs might. 6 remaining for Simpson. Wow, that's...
They got me questioning things, man. Hibbs ahead of him only has 1 remaining, so it makes sense why he didn't use it. But Simpson, he went down lap 54, so he's got a little more fuel than Fode. Fode's not gonna understand. They got me all kinds of confused right now.
Well, if you can use them all in a lap, that's going to make your 1 lap really, really fast, right? So,
I don't know about that.
Meanwhile, Frankenfield has caught the back of Forsyth coming out of the keyhole. They're really... Does Forsyth have any...
Yep, and he's using
left? Yeah, he's using it, but Frankenfield is right underneath that rear wing, getting as much slipstream as possible, and Frankenfield sends it down. Derik, this is where we saw contact with Frankenfield a little while ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, Chad learned his lesson the first time here and just decides to back it down, back it off a little bit with just 2 laps to go, and be content with coming home in seventh. It's probably going to be his best finish of the year. But maybe he'll get a little bit aggressive and try to pass the car in front of him, as we see him
Remember,
kind of
fresher
pull up
tires.
on the rear bumper. He does have fresher tires, so maybe he does try to make that pass for sixth place with just 2 to go.
Yeah, 2 laps to go. Got to give props to Stanley, who's, well, continuing to eat into Adriano Pinero's lead, but it's still 12 seconds at this stage. Pinero also might be just taking it a little bit easy. He's right there. And that's Forsyth on the button, on the push to pass down the straightaway, so able to defend again. Meanwhile, back behind him, Hibbs.
Last lap.
Oh, Brophy. Brophy has been able to put the pass on Simpson. So move Jason Brophy up into 9th, picking up every point, trying to stay our points leader after the conclusion of tonight's event. Ethan Stanley in the number 91 came into tonight's second place in points, 24 markers back. So Ethan Stanley going to be picking up a good chunk of points in second, but we are on the final.
Yes, we are. As we see on the split screen there, Adriano Pinero, the race leader, will be the eventual winner here, is down on the bottom side of the screen, just traffic-free, worry-free right there, Adriano Pinero, as he's going to come to the start-finish line. What a night for Adriano Pinero as he picks up his second victory in the 2024 season, winning the Into the Apex Motorsports podcast Indy 200 live from the Middle Ohio Sports Racing Complex. So congratulations goes out again, win number 2 this year for Adriano Pinero. Ethan Stanley is going to finish second place, and Jared Rexing is going to round out your podium in third. Coming home fourth as we're waiting for the unofficial results to populate there, as right now it is showing that Butch Davis in the number 4 position. That is how he is going to finish. Pole winner Tyler Fody is going to bring home a top 5 in P5, and then it is Forsyth in 6th place.
Oh, bro, last lap wreck.
And that's the points leader with a late wreck. That's really gonna hurt things, as we'll see how that shakes things up, as the points leader there, Jason Brophy, in a late wreck comes home in 11th place. But we'll go back to the instant replay and Peter explain this.
Yeah, Brophy was trying to get everything he can. Hibbs caught a little bit of lap traffic, opened up the door, and there was contact right there. That is a last lap accident if I've ever seen one. The door was just cracked open just a little bit. Hibbs unfortunately got caught with the lap traffic at a wrong spot. We talk about passing and how difficult it is. Well, it's difficult even, getting around some of the lap traffic. And you see, I think that was not sure who that was, trying to slow down to let these drivers on through. And really, if you're Hibbs,
Good thing none of them stalled it.
You didn't really see anything, from Hibbs' perspective to say, hey, he was trying to slow down. That's just a late race contact coming to the line. Hibbs, unfortunately, going to lose 2 spots on the final lap, drop down to 10th.
Yeah, he's going to drop down, and obviously that's going to hurt the points leader there as well. Chad Frankenfield rather finishes 7th, Simpson 8th, Presley Sora 9th, and then Hibbs, who got into that late wreck there, brings home a top 10 as well. Stay tuned, because we'll be able to speak hopefully to all 3 podium finishers here shortly. Let's hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be back and bring you post-race interviews here at the Into the Apex Motorsports podcast, Indy 200 from Mid-Ohio.
The NASCAR Cup.
We are in commercial.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
The NASCAR Cup Series returns to Worldwide Technology Raceway on June 1st and 2nd, 2024. The time to get your tickets is now. For only $10 down, you can lock in your seats for an incredible weekend of family fun, featuring the Enjoy Illinois 300 and the Confluence Music Festival. Racing, music, camping, it all adds up to one amazing party. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Apex Indy 200. Tonight's podium. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to get a word from tonight's winner, but we'll start with tonight's third place finisher, Jared Rexing. Peter Short in the booth. You got a copy?
Loud and clear.
Tell you what, a very, very solid race from you here tonight. Kind of pushing it all the way to the end. I don't think you ever got above third position, but you kept chipping away at it, finishing the night at the highest point that you had all night. I think all things considered, great race for you. Kind of tell us about it from your perspective.
Yeah, third on a road course is a win in my books. You know, I think my previous best is like fifth, and that's when we had, 15 guys running on road courses. So I'm thrilled to come away with a third. I don't know. I just was able to keep it clean. There a lot of people were having issues, making passes, getting around lap traffic, and that definitely was a factor. But, just being able to save your tires, save fuel, and get on the right strategy, I think that made the difference tonight more than my own driving skill.
Well, that is definitely the case. We saw some contenders around you, like Jason Brophy, our points leader, Chad Frankenfield, have issues here tonight, make small mistakes that ended up big mistakes, but consistency. This racetrack, you whip around it very fast in an IndyCar. I mean, lap time's just over a minute. You have to stay on top of your game. Kind of tell us about that from the driver's seat.
Yeah, lucky, when you're saving fuel, that kind of takes some of the pressure away because, if you're in a, fuel mix 3 or 5, you can get on the throttle a little bit more aggressively and not worried about spinning the tires. So I think that kind of helps play into keeping it clean because you're never giving it 100%. So I think that helps for sure.
We definitely saw a lot of drivers favor the black sidewall tire here tonight, and then the red sidewall tire. You, of course, get to try out both sets here tonight. Which one do you think worked out better for you in the end?
Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't put the reds onto the last stint, so I don't know if it's just because the track was so rubbered up, but I really think the reds had the better pace, even at the end of a run. Of course, my last run was 5 laps shorter than the others, but I was surprised at how well they held up. I think you could have went with either tire and been fine tonight.
Well, definitely a strong run for the Nesquik number 10 machine. I have to say that takes me back to the Jeff Green and Scott Riggs era. Those were good years. And in the NASCAR Busch Series. But Jared, great run for you here tonight. You got some shout outs you'd like to give out?
Well, on your note, yeah, shout out to those old guys, Jeff Green and Scott Riggs. That's the inspiration for the Nesquik car. And shout out to my fan, my wife, for letting me do this. So, and shout out to you guys for putting on the broadcast. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Well, like you said, a third place on a road course can be like a win. Well, go celebrate like a win, Jared, because a strong run here. And of course, we'll see you again next week, bud.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, tonight's third place finisher on the podium, Jared Rexing. We'll drop him out of the booth here into the Apex Motorsports Podcast Indy 200 podium. But I believe Derik Vance is caught up with tonight's runner-up. A very strong run for Ethan Stanley. Derik.
Yeah, absolutely. Ethan Stanley, Derik Vance in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Ethan, congratulations. Second place finish. I know, obviously, you had your heart set on first, but Adriano had that locked down. Talk about your race this evening, coming home second.
Yeah, I got the penalty in qualifying for impeding as my mistake. Got sent to the back, so I started all the way in the back. Had to fight my way through. I was able to make the red tires work pretty well the first stint, so I was able to carve my way through the field, and then was able to hold with everybody else. And then towards the end, I just didn't have enough to catch Adriano. I mean, I started the race about 10 seconds back, and I finished about 10 seconds back from him, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Is there anything that you would change if you had this race to do all over again, knowing what you know now?
I would have moved over in qualifying. That's the only thing I could have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate that the penalty came at the time that it did, but again, you're able to get through the field and come home in second place this evening. Anybody that you want to give a shout-out recognition to?
Yeah, just big shout out to Blue Egg Marketing for being a sponsor of my car, and JD Designs, designed our paint. Big shout out to you guys for doing the broadcast. I know it was kind of last minute, getting everybody together. And just big shout out to everybody that makes the league run.
Good stuff. Ethan, again, congratulations. Second place finish. Hopefully a little bit of momentum that you need to carry you into next week.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. That was both of our podium finishers this evening. I guess we'll have to wait from the Panero camp, as we did a couple weeks ago, to get a statement on his win as well. Fellas, that does it for race number 4. Peter, Carlos, anything else you want to add before we close the chapter on this onto the Apex Motorsports Podcast Indy 200?
Well, we can go over the final race results.
All right. Peter, you want to go over those?
Yeah, sure. I'll take a rundown of tonight's final running order. Adriano Pinero taking home the win. Dominant performance. Took the lead there around lap number 14 and did not look back. Ethan Stanley coming home second after what was an unfortunate start to the race for him, but made up for it. Jared Rexing rounded out our podium here tonight, just 23 seconds back. It sounds like for a driver who isn't one of those road course ringers, not like he's a happy driver. Butch Davis had a great start to the night, coming home in fourth. Tyler Fody, our pole sitter, trying to figure out the right P word, finishing in fifth. Craig Forsyth in sixth, put together a solid run there. Chad Frankenfield had that late race contact, falling down into seventh. Chad Simpson in eighth. Presley Sora there in ninth. Gavin Hibbs, contact on the final lap dropped him down to the last finisher inside the top 10. Jason Brophy, our points leader, entering the race and finishing in 11th with that contact. Tyler Beeman in 12th. Victor Del Porto put together a solid run in the number 27 in 13th. Justin Vandermerel was around the top 10 for most of the race, did lose a couple of spots late, down in 14th. Chris Simard in 15th. Nicholas Sudik also had a moment middle of the race, losing a front wing, finishing in 16th. Mark Murphy, 2 laps down in 17th, and Jordan Owens rounding out our top 18 there. Derik.
All right, 19th as we wait for the
Yeah, I'm having a little
results.
issue here. Let me see if this fixes it. Yeah, there we
There
go.
we go. 19th was Bradley Beeman in the number 92 Mad Sim Racing Machine. 20th, Eric Troiano in the number 14th entry. 22, Evander Jonesyfield. 23, Michael Hosick. 23rd, AJ Hobson. 24th, rookie Alan Stover. 25th, Patrick Stein. 26th, Justin Fortner, Little Eagle Racing. 27th, Troy Schoen. 28th, Brian Edwards. 29th, Corey Johnson. And 30th, Bill Colley. 31st, Hunter Smith, Little Eagle Racing. 32nd, Nick DeGroot. Surprised to see him finishing so far in the pack this evening. 33rd, Mark Rebellis. 34th, Zachary Wright. And 35th, rookie Brandon Burns.
Yeah, some of those drivers right there at the back end of the field not having the best of luck. I mean, we saw Hunter Smith early in the race, was up there near the front with a fighting chance of the top 5, but just all went by the wayside. Got to give a shout out, of course, to our sponsors here. Of course, tonight's race sponsor, Into the Apex Motorsports Podcast. The Into the Apex Podcast has brought the feel of real and virtual motorsport for over 3 years. Every week, it's not your dull hour of sim racing radio. It's edgy, like a campground at the Sebring 12 hours, like a real group of sim racers on a Friday night. It is provocative motorsport talk. Subscribe and follow weekly at intotheapex.com and on Spotify or iTunes. I didn't get the double end there, Carlos. And of course, Warriors for Peace, our series sponsor. Warriors for Peace is a foundation promoting peaceful change in the world to honor the beautiful life of Jack Shockley. Check out warriorforpeace.org for more information. That is Warriors for Peace, number 4, peace.org for more information. For myself, Peter Short, Derik, Vance, Carlos Acosta, and everyone else.
Hold on. Time out. Time out. We finally got a word from the Panero camp. We have a transcript from sent to us from league owner Chad Frankenfield himself from the Panero camp, saying, "Hello friends, want to congratulate Ethan on his recovery and P2 and Jared on P3. My race was difficult. I have some problems with loss of force feedback from my steering wheel, which resulted in my error in the last race, which I can briefly mention after this is over. But today I managed to adapt. I made a great overtake on Tyler, I'm assuming, and I was able to subsequently impose my pace deficits. I was able to impose my pace despite the difficulty I've been having with my steering wheel. I'm happy with the victory, and I hope to continue with good results in the next round. Thanks. A hug to everyone." This is from the Adriano Panero and the BK Racing camp, and it looks like he's mentioning he's having loss of force feedback on his steering wheel, and that he said resulted with the error last week, which, Peter, I think I briefly mentioned it to you at one point, and I know, Derik, you and I were here to witness that in person, where it just seemed like a rare, what we thought was a mental error of him just going up and smacking into the outside wall entering turn 1, appears to have been a hardware failure with a loss of force feedback. And then I know my teammate Just Story in the Elite ARCA series was battling that for a while, was able to get that fixed by actually cleaning out the USB ports on his computer. I don't know if it's going to be the same situation for Adriano, but yeah, that loss of force feedback ain't no joke, and the fact that he dominated this race with having force feedback issues either coming and going or just leaving at some point, that's a huge testament to what the rest of the field has to battle with nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, that explanation there by Panero's camp definitely makes sense now, because it didn't at the time watching replays. Something just wasn't quite adding up. Before we sign off here, I do want to say that we are going to be on a 1-week hiatus, and then we'll be back February 22nd, coming to you live from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So, Peter, you want to sign us out?
I think Peter signed up. There we go.
I got a barking dog in the background that one. But yeah, absolutely. Great race here tonight. And for myself, Peter Short, Derik, Carlos, and everyone part of the racing family, have a good night. We shall see ya.